Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by thegaminggang.com, which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. This is live stream 790. Closing in on number 800 pretty quickly. If this is your first time joining me, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then taking a look at a game release. So tonight, we are going to dive on into Starfinder Drift Crisis from Paizo Inc. This is an event that is taking place in the Starfinder world that we are going to be taking a peek at. I believe it's like a year-long event for Starfinder, so it's going to kind of change up the status quo. So we're going to be taking a look at this. There's also, I believe, plenty of new player options as well inside. So that's what we're taking a peek at tonight. Sweet. So if you're not familiar with the stream, keep in mind, we do tackle the tabletop gaming news first. Then we jump on into a first look. So if you're watching live, just kick your feet up, relax, take it easy, and we will get through the news in probably 30 minutes or so, maybe a little longer than that. Of course, if you're watching any more than 30 minutes or so after this stream ends, there will be timestamps. So you can actually jump past the news and go right into the first look. And those timestamps are located in the show notes as well as in the timeline of the video, depending on what device you're watching this on. So I do want to mention, if you happen to like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. I'll also inform you when my live stream? I'm talking about the live stream. I got something on my mind tonight, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Anyway, if you hit that bell, it'll notify you when I upload other videos like my review of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, The Horned Rat from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. So this is my latest review, and if you're curious how this fourth chapter in the Enemy Within Director's Cut plays out, give it a peek. Give it a peek. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And lastly, this is a live stream. So if you are kicking back and watching, by all means, take a part in chat. That's right. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. Also, you have to be a subscriber for at least 48 hours to take part in chat. Yet another way that I used to keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay as well. But I do my best to pay attention to chat. So if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight was the Madman. Yes, the Motor City Madman is with us. He is one of our chat moderators as well. 245 Trioxin and John Vogel are also in chat this evening. So, before we jump on in, I do want to mention, and I know there are people out there, they will watch the stream and they get upset when I don't just stick to talking about games. And I've said it before, I live in this world. I am of this world. So, 13 little kids, a teacher, and of course the shooter, all dead in Texas. When is enough going to be enough? I mean, it breaks your heart. It really does. It's every week. Every week. And it's not, oh, well, 2 people. It's always 8, 10, 12, 14. Dozens in Vegas. And I tell you, things are never going to change until we address 3 things in this country, because it's in this country. It is specifically here. It is a rot within the United States. There's 3 things. 1, we need to elect representatives who actually represent us, who have an interest in governance, and who aren't just there to boost their own stock and get reelected or serve a term so they can go and become some cable news pundit. We need to elect people who actually will do the people's business and who actually will listen to the people's mandate, to be honest. Second thing, we need to find a way to get more people the mental health treatment that they need. Now, I know nothing about this kid who shot up that elementary school. I know absolutely zero about that person, except that he's 18 years old, so we know it was not a student. But come on, you know, I've said it before. I don't believe in a heaven or a hell. I'll tell you what, I do believe in evil, though, and what took place today is a sheer, horrifying act of evil. There's no getting around it. No getting around it whatsoever. But there had to be some sort of disconnect with this young man. Lastly, we need to address the sheer lack, not just compassion for other human beings, but just the complete disrespect and just so many people out there just don't even identify that other people in this world exist, that it's all them. It's all me, me, me. You know, interestingly enough, there was a new documentary that came out last weekend about George Carlin, one of my all-time favorite comedians. And there was discussion about his bit, A Place for My Stuff, which, if I remember right, was the name of the album that it was on, and how, my shit is stuff, but your stuff is shit. So it's basically, your stuff doesn't exist. It doesn't matter how important it is to you. It's not important to me, so it's shit. And we've gotten to the point where people will sit there and take their phones out to record someone being stabbed on a subway as opposed to trying to help the person being stabbed. Or they'll shoot video of somebody bleeding out on a city street as opposed to attempting to help that other person. It is ridiculous. It is just systemic throughout this fucking culture. It really is, and it's disgusting. And I don't know where it came. Well, I do know partially where it came from. And part of it is the parenting in the United States. There's no way around it. These kids nowadays are brought up to think that they're the little cures for cancer running around. And then when life throws them a curve, they can't handle it. They short circuit. Now, I don't get me wrong. I would not want to be a young person these days anyway. I mean, back when I was a teenager, it was way different. For one, nobody had guns. If we got into like a fight, it was like, oh my God, that guy's got a chain. Oh, hey, that's okay. Bobby brought a bat with us. It wasn't, oh, hey, I got my Glock. Oh, yeah, I got my AR-15. I almost didn't do a show tonight. I was like, oh, man. Then I thought, you know what? It makes me feel better. See, it's all about me now. I'm part of the problem. You don't exist. None of you exist out there. It's just all about me. Me doing a show makes me feel better. It does, though. It really does. It does make me feel a lot better. So sorry to rant a little bit, but I mean, come on. So the Madman points out, helping others, saving lives and people's property, sometimes risking his own life is exactly why he had joined the Coast Guard. Helping others, it's what he does. Unfortunately, yeah, but you got to remember, Madman is, I think a great majority of the viewers of this stream are of the, like, I don't know, 30 to 60 demographic, right? It's like, I don't think we get a lot of like 18 and 19-year-old kids hanging out watching the old dude talking about games. So 245 Tracks and asked if he got his bid in time for the auction. I did not see it, but if you did, you're fine. I'm not going to do a nightly auction. I got a couple of emails and they said, it came across a little bit like begging. And I actually felt that way a little bit too. So, but what I will do, I don't know if it'll be this weekend, maybe next weekend. I'll put together another list of games, put it up on thegaminggang.com, and then it's just going to be first come, first serve. I won't even do an auction. It'll just be, hey, these are the asking prices. If you're interested, boom, comment. But 245 Tracks, and I will look at your comment. So you're good. I mean, you're fine. You know how to touch base with me. It's Jeff McAleer at thegaminggang.com. And keep in mind, my last name is MC, capital ALEER, not MAC, like some folks think. Anyway, so yes, so you're cool. I'll take a look to see what you wanted to get your hands on, if it was War Chest or Mistborn Adventure Game, and we will get that taken care of for you. All right. Anyway, so just wanted to get a little bit off that of that off my chest. It's just because otherwise I'd just be thinking about it. That's why I kind of stumbled in the open there, because I'm like, but it's out there now. I've said my piece. So let's move on into the news, because arriving next month is Night of the Mummy. Here's the deets from Jellybean Games. The Mummy's Curse has brought all the exhibits to life, and they've crashed the Museum of Unnatural History's annual masquerade ball. Night of the Mummy is a 20-minute game of hidden roles and logical deduction for 4 to 8 players, ages 10 and up. Each player takes on the role of a classic monster at a masquerade party, identify and expose everyone else to break the curse and escape. This is a standalone expansion to Dracula's Feast: New Blood. Night of the Mummy improves everything you loved about the original. More roles, unique interactions, and a brand new mechanism. Some characters hide while dancing, not revealing their roles to other players. Best of all, combine it with Dracula's Feast. Incorporate roles from either game into the other for even greater replayability. This game comes with 10 unique new roles, including 3 advanced guests. whatever that may mean. Night of the Mummy is for 4 to 8 players. Once again, ages 10 and up. Plays in around 20 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $19.95 when it arrives on June 15th. I like the artwork. I like the art style. I like the fact, and we're seeing the mummy right there. I think there's another mummy image. It's different coming up. Kind of spooky, right? It's not just, ooh, it's silly. It's silly and goofy. Kind of has a little bite to it. Little scariness to the artwork for a family game. And I definitely do like that quite a bit. Flaming Heron is with us in chat. Our other chat moderator has arrived. Good to see you, Flaming Heron. On to our next news piece. Hitting stores early next month, possibly the end of this month, is 1941 Race to Moscow from Phalanx Games. Here's what I know. In 1941, Race to Moscow, players take the roles of chiefs of staff or quartermasters of 3 massive army groups formed from close to 200 divisions, aiming at 3 targets in the Soviet Union: Moscow, Leningrad, and Rostov. The campaign was planned to be swift and daring, with a goal to reach the objectives before winter. The road to Moscow is not paved with roses, though. Mud, a sticky hell which brings your tank charge to a halt, enemy forces whose defeat will cost you not only the last bullet left in your clip, but also the last droplet of fuel left in your gas tank, and tactical dilemmas as well as meticulous calculations of how to reroute the completely stuck railroads. These are some of the challenges players need to overcome. Players' job is to keep the logistics chain working, to make sure the blitzkrieg moves as quickly as possible and the targets are reached on time. This means the players will have to supply fuel to the tanks, ammo to the guns, food to the troops, and fodder to the horses. The player who acquires the most medals wins the game. Acquires the most food. Where did I get that? Players can also bet everything on one strike and finish the war by conquering Moscow, or Leningrad, or Rostov. Do not linger anymore. Equip your troops wisely. Pave ways for the most efficient supply chains to prevent your armies from running on empty. Race to Moscow. 1941 Race to Moscow is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 90 to 120 minutes, and is going to carry an MSRP of $99.95. Looks like that's a pretty damn big board as well. I'm kind of curious, though. And I know Phalanx makes really good games, so I am not curious, is this going to be any good? I'm sure it's going to be pretty good, even though it's a game based on logistics. I don't know. It just doesn't strike me as $100 game. Now, I did see some playtest photos in that had like little miniatures and things. And I thought, well, if it comes with that, yes, I can see the $99.95, but I don't think it does. I think they were just using miniatures, like 6mm miniatures, for playtesting, not for the game itself. So, kind of up in the air on that. But I got to say, you don't have a lot of World War II games out there that are really about logistics. Now, of course, there was Quartermaster General, which I personally thought was boring. I did not find that to be an interesting game at all. So, but this could be kind of cool. And you're all cooperating together. Nobody's playing the Soviets, as far as I know, in this game. So, kind of cool. On to some role-playing game news. The Kickstarter for the Creatures Complete Monster Compendium 2, say that 5 times fast, for 5th edition, is nearing the home stretch for Studio Agate and Studio 2 Publishing. Here's the latest on the project. Creatures Complete Monster Compendium 2 is the sequel to, you guessed it, Creatures Volume 1. This 400-page bestiary and toolbox features more than 180 illustrated creatures for all levels, including 150 entirely original ones and 30 great classics with a new spin, such as Aboleth or the Chul, 5 playable species, the Drow, the Durgar, City of the Depths, Grimlocks, and I never pronounce these right, Sverneblins? Like evil gnomes? Yes, it's the Sverneblins. Terrifying. There's adventure hooks, new feats, and handicaps, 12 original magic items, 8 original archetypes, providing you with material to design new monsters for your games, and much more. As a game master, you've got a lot to do. Planning, writing, sometimes drawing, and much more. We've been DMs for over 20 years, and we're here to help. With this book, we want to offer you as much material as possible to make your job as a dungeon master easier. Prepare your next game session or upgrade your world building by picking from Creature's rich contents and cook up your own unforgettable stories. This project is already 1,500% funded. You can reserve a copy of the 400-page hardcover with PDF, as well as unlock stretch goals, for a $50 pledge, or score the PDF and digital stretch goals for a $25 pledge through June 4th. Expected delivery is pretty quick. It's this November. Sweet. Omanal is with us. So is Coco B. Welcome to you both. Coco B's asking, are there changelings? I hope there's changelings, because that's been a theme. That has been a theme with us for about the past, couple of weeks. Omanal says, hey, all, had to listen to Jeff at 2 times speed to get here, to get to this point. I should have spoke really fast then. Then you'd have thought maybe I was being an auctioneer. So, yes, I agree. I like the artwork quite a bit. It's kind of funny because Studio Agate is a French company that I remember interviewing at the first Gen Con Elliot and I attended as the press. So that would be, I believe, 2012. And they had just come out with, in fact, they were releasing it in English, and it was Shadows of Estrin, the sort of gothic European fantasy role-playing game that had a very unique art style as well. I don't think they do a whole lot with Estrin anymore. I think they still produce it. I think they still publish it. I don't think they release a lot of new stuff. I think they may have even done a port over to 5e with it as well. So, but yeah, this looks pretty interesting. And yes, I completely agree. Very cool art, very distinctive look to this bestiary as well. Moving right along, currently available in print and PDF from Soul Muppet Publishing is Cameron Dune. Here's the scoop. Batala is dead, and the Holy Trinity has killed them. In the end of the universe, will they sing of you? Make God bleed. Cameron Dune is a modern Filipino epic RPG about worthless heroes dismantling God, whatever cycle of oppression that must be. Inspired by Filipino folk epics, novels, comics, history, and action anime, you play as young heroes who must make their legend known and become a legendary Cameron Dune by making God, whichever oppressive system and tyrant that is, bleed. This game requires 4 to 6 players, with 1 player as the Alamat Chanter, the term for game master. This game only uses 6-sided dice for everything. You're going to need around 6 in the beginning, By the end, you'll need around 20. That is a lot of D6s. Carandune are those that are fast as the lightning and strong as the hurricane. Carandune are those that, with a single command, fell entire armies and break the hearts of gods. But God is dead, and the Holy Trinity has killed them. The multiverse spirals into Kawalan, oblivion, and entropy due to the hatred brought about by the forces of the Holy Trinity. Yes, there is no hope for this doomed world, but in its dying breath, the wake of the Carandune, it might have been glorious. Will you be remembered, you lowly hero of no name and consequence, so insignificant that not even Tahana, destiny, has you etched upon its web, must rise and achieve that legendary sobriquet, Carandune? The 170-page softcover with PDF is available right now through Exalted Funeral for an MSRP of $34, or you can grab the PDF alone over at Drive-Thru RPG for $20. Very distinct art style here on that cover, I'll tell you that much. I would say this seems like a modern grimdark sort of vibe to it, is what I'm getting. Is kind of the feel I've got for it. But I'll tell you what, this RPG has been covered by some interesting news outlets. I think CNN had a piece about it. So I was like, well. And of course, it's from Exalted Funeral and Soul Muppet Publishing. So it should be pretty good. Pretty interesting. On to the last news piece. Now available in print and PDF from Monte Cook Games is The Origin. Here's the skinny on this Supers RPG supplement. Master perilous new powers in a world that is dangerously askew. In 2017, Umau made headlines as the first interstellar object ever detected passing through our solar system. Everyone remembers that. A web search will tell you all about it. So why doesn't anyone remember Nibiru? How it curved out of the night, its trajectory changing so rapidly that scientists could barely track it. How its arc altered day by day, inexplicably. I knew I was not going to get through that sentence. I still have this stupid sinus infection. How its arc altered day by day toward our own. How the skies blazed when it struck the earth. How the seas boiled and the cities burned. Except the cities still stand. The sky is unburnt, and only an unlucky few of us have nightmares about Nibiru. Maybe we're losing our minds, sharing a delusion, and that newfound ability to turn invisible, to read thoughts, to levitate. It's just another shared delusion. So why are we being hunted down? The Origin is a gritty and mysterious setting in which characters master emerging superpowers as they face nefarious groups, superpowered opponents, and dark forces somehow connected to memories of a world that met a different fate. The Origin includes a mysterious backstory for PCs to piece together, a world that looks at first identical to our own, but has been altered somehow in dark and frightening ways. Rules for player characters to gain and master shocking new abilities over the course of play. Dozens of new ciphers and artifacts, dozens of new monstrous creatures, extra-dimensional beings, and weird metahumans. There's also 3 full adventures plus 1 adventure interlude that draws characters into the discovery and mastery of their powers and introduce the sinister forces arrayed against them and the entire world. The Origin is a setting and supplement for the Cypher system, so it means you need to have the Cypher system rulebook in order to play. The 160-page hardcover can be had for $44.99, or you can grab the PDF over at Drive-Thru RPG for $17.99. I remember talking about this when it was up on Kickstarter, which wasn't all that long ago. Kind of interesting. Kind of gives me a little bit of a Wild Cards vibe. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the series of shared world novels that were edited by George R.R. Martin. In fact, to me, I knew George R.R. Martin from Wild Cards long before Game of Thrones came out. So, in fact, that's the reason why I picked up a Game of Thrones, because I was like, oh, George R.R. Martin, I know him. So, in fact, I thought there's supposed to be, maybe not anymore, but they were going to have a series based on Wild Cards. I thought it was going to be on Amazon or something. Anyway, but this kind of gives me that, that vibe where it's, suddenly you have these all these different people have emerging superpowers, but there aren't any jokers. It doesn't seem like, and a lot of people dying either. Flaming Heron points out they just happen to have the cipher system as part of a bundle on Bundle of Holding. Convenient. Yes, we talked about that yesterday. That was our news piece that we talked about. Humble Bundle, what was it? 38 PDFs for $35. Oh, no, wait a second. That was Starfinder we were talking about. Starfinder was the Humble Bundle. So is there a new one? Because I didn't see that one yesterday. So we'll have to take a look. We'll see what we got going on. Anyway, once again, this is available either from Monte Cook Games as a hardcover and in PDF or at Drive-Thru RPG. That is it for the news tonight. Of course, I was just talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit Drive-Thru RPG or any of the other One Bookshelf sites, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. So thank you kindly for doing that. Also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, if you like what we do, you can always buy me a cup of coffee or some soda by visiting paypal.me/thegaminggang and making a small donation. So have to give a big shout out to the Madman who made a very, very generous donation towards the new camera that we're going to need. The overhead camera we've been talking about. I don't want to carry on about it every day. But yeah, so big thank you to the Madman. Much appreciated. Very much. Very muchly. Still got a long ways to go, but getting closer. Getting closer. So, Omanal says, yes, darn Monte Cook making Cypher available. So they also had a Tolus in Bundle of Holding. I remember that. But it's not, I thought of sharing that bundle, but I think it's only 4 or 5 items. And I mean, I get it. Tolus is 1,000 pages or something, more than that, maybe. And it's supposed to be very, very good. It's the 5E port of it. But I was like, there were other stories today to share. So, sweet. All righty. Anyway, a few things I do want to point out. I am going to go to San Diego Comic-Con this year. I know people are out there. Wait a second, Jeff. You're talking about you need to get an overhead camera and you're going to go to Comic-Con? Yeah, because it's not going to cost me anything. So we have press passes again this year. And if I don't go, nobody gets to go. So I'm not paying for the hotel. It's kind of like these people don't really do a whole lot for the websites. Get to go to Comic-Con. Go to all the parties. Well, not all the parties. I'm sure they've cut back on that, or they will cut back on that a lot. Because normally it'd be every night. Free food, free drinks. Anyway. So Madman says, I'm more than welcome. Well, thank you still. I mean, it's, it's a big deal. So, anyway, so yes, all I'm going to end up paying for is my food because the flight, my sister-in-law works for United. So we're going to fly on vacation passes. So that won't cost, maybe $100, maybe. So, yeah, so it's not like, oh, yeah, hey, I need this camera, but I'm going to go partying. No. But I thought it was kind of cool going to San Diego Comic-Con. This will probably be my last Comic-Con, to be very honest. Flaming Heron says, Jeff, are you going to parties now, too? How dare you do things? I know. How dare I do that? Anyway, and if you missed the open, I'm not going to do the nightly auctions. It's just, I am going to put together a list of games, put it up on thegaminggang.com, and it'll be first come, first serve. It's not going to be auction. It'll just be like, oh, I want this, I want this, I want that. Boom. Omerdal says Jeff's going to surf and has to suffer through Comic-Con. Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you, when we go to Comic-Con, we're pretty exhausted by the time we get back to the room. And Elliot would go with us. He hasn't gone. Well, he's not part of the gaming gang anymore. So, but he would have his little walk meter or whatever, pedometer, I guess it is, on his phone. It would say you've walked 17.5 miles today. And be like, yes, we did. So, all right. So tonight we are going to be taking a look at Starfinder Drift Crisis from Paizo Inc. But first, it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
Hold on a minute, partner. It's refreshment time, folks.
Taste that beats the others cold. Pepsi pours it on. Taste that beats the others cold. Pepsi pours it on.
Come below, the Wilkins coffee's ready.
I don't like coffee.
Okay, Mac, have some water.
I must have said the wrong thing.
I float through the air with the greatest of ease, with or without the flying trapeze. My act is so great gravity I defy, 'cause I drink T-O-E-D-Y.
Yes, Toddy, the chocolate malt in a can.
Get it, everybody. It's time to drink your chocolate toddy.
Mmm, delicious.
If you were paying attention in that Pepsi, concession bumper, stinger, whatever you want to consider it, it was the same girl at the candy counter at the concession stand as was in the previous Pepsi stinger that we watched on yesterday's show. And in the audience was that trippy hippie chick. It's like, yeah, it's like Pepsi, wow. And of course, Wontkins had to die again. So, yeah, I don't know, why did I refer to that little puppet yesterday as Watkins. It's Wontkins. It's Wilkins and Wontkins. And I know that. I don't know why I called him Watkins yesterday. Coco B says, I thought I saw the girl with the psychedelics in the audience. Yes. And I had to chuckle. Could they have gotten anybody older to play the cowboys? The gunslingers there? It's like, all right, okay. Fastest gun in the West, my ass. So, alrighty. Tonight, we are going to dive on in and take a first look at Starfinder Drift Crisis from Paizo Inc. This hardcover carries an MSRP of $44.99. It clocks in at 192 pages. So, once again, pretty pricey. But here we go. Here's one of those kind of strange Paizo things. You can grab the PDF tomorrow. In fact, this hits stores, I believe, tomorrow as well. But you can get the PDF tomorrow for $9.99. Zoinks! Yes, it is another one of those kind of core book deals that Paizo likes to run with, like the Pathfinder core book, Starfinder core book. Some of the core supplements that come out are really, really low priced as PDFs compared to the physical books. All right, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Drift Crisis. All right, Sony, behave tonight. Behave. I got to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about Drift Crisis. I do know that this is a big event. It is almost, to me, it feels almost like, like Marvel or DC Comics when they have their big, crossover events for the summer and their big mega events. Well, this is supposed to be a kind of like universe shattering event as far as I understand. So once again, got to point out the fine folks over at Paizo Inc. were kind enough to provide me with this review copy. But remember, neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. And it's important that you know that. Of course, I also want to point out, I'm going to stay picture in picture up here as I always do. So that means I'll be cutting off a little bit of the upper portion of the book as we take a peek. And we're not going to look at each and every page, but I do want to give you kind of a good feel for what we're going to find in Drift Crisis. So let's take a look at the back here. Cosmic catastrophe. Hyperspace is broken. In a catastrophic instant, commonplace faster than light travel made possible by the drift fails. Travelers vanish mid-flight. Communications scramble. And the drift's progenitor god, Triune, falls mysteriously silent. Falls mysteriously silent. This font is not the easiest to read. In the aftermath, empires cling to far-flung holdings. Opportunists exploit the chaos, and everyone demands to know what triggered this crisis and how it can be solved. With Starfinder Drift Crisis, you can dive right into this galaxy-spanning adventure and determine what happens next. All right, let's jump on in. First, here's our packed world system and paper here. So we're going to get an overview of what's going on. We've got some adventures. Very nice. Look like they're all very short. Or maybe it's just talking about creating adventures. Then we've got our toolbox. All right. Information for everyone. Whether you're eager to play in a Drift Crisis campaign, itching to run an adventure as the game master, seeking options for other campaigns, or just delighted by Starfinder lore, Drift Crisis offers a wealth of content well suited for everyone. Chapter 1, suitable for all readers, constructed in many ways like a traditional setting supplement, with details about factions, regions, and thematic character options. Let's see, where do we have Chapter 2? It's like, okay, Taking a look. Oh, so chapter 2 are adventure seeds. I was going to say, they look like they were pretty short. So I'm going to take a guess. Our third chapter is going to be for Game Masters only. Not just a story, an event. If you're feeling truly epic, consider playing a few Drift Crisis stories in parallel. This might involve combining several adventure seeds into a massive tale where the PCs thwart antagonists across the galaxy, each one operating at some nefarious cross purpose that the PCs might be able to bait into fighting each other. So we've got the Drift Crisis. It says a Drift Crisis campaign is about possibilities. Countless stories playing out across a vast galaxy. Your Drift Crisis experiences could be a massive, far-reaching epic in which the PCs uncover reality-shattering secrets, unite powerful organizations, and play a central role in shaping the setting's future. Damn you, sinus infection. I believe that we're also going to have some content in here on how to take past Starfinder adventure paths and adapt them for Drift Crisis. So we get some info about the pre-crisis drift and then the drift in crisis. In a single devastating instant, the drift failed. Most starships in the drift at the time seemed to vanish, with many stranded as the drift's physics warped and evolved around them. Almost kind of reminds you a little bit of the storyline in Star Trek Discovery with all of the dilithium crystals exploding. So, of course, warp travel is nigh impossible or very dangerous. So, talking about the packed worlds, giving us a little bit of a breakdown. Epsilon Station is no stranger to crisis. Adrift in the confusion of the post-Gap universe, orbiting the vacancy left by Lost Galarian, this hulking mass of glass and metal brought desperate groups together to reconcile their differences and work together for survival. I guess there was a spoiler, huh? Just gave you a spoiler. The Veskarium. Talking about the Veskarium plays. They play a part in the latest Starfinder adventure path, Vast of the Horizons. The Aslanti Star Empire, speaking of the vast, being right there. So we're getting a breakdown on how these various different factions have been affected. So now we get some new backgrounds. We get some new archetypes. So we've got Crisis Refugee, Drift Crashed, Opportunist, Spectra Scion. And then we get some class options here. I don't think we're going to get every class having new options. Oh, looks like a good number. A few of them there. Russell Higgins has joined us in chat. Good to see you, Russell. Got some new gear. So we got some new weapons. Got some new grenades, it looks like. Pretty solid artwork throughout. Now, last night when we were taking a peek at Knights of Last Wall for Pathfinder, I had commented a few times that some of the artwork was just really soft. And I like when books have, and I get it, artwork is not cheap, but I like when publishers try to stay with a relatively uniform style of artwork. It's sometimes kind of jarring when you see, oh, hey, that artwork's pretty nice. That artwork's pretty nice. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Beacons of War. Okay, so these are the adventures, I think. Yeah, these are we're now taking a look at the adventure seeds. Uh-oh, there's a spoiler. The true cause of the crisis. Gonna cover that up. So it looks like we get a couple of pages. Oh, maybe more than a couple. Beacons of War has quite a few pages to it, about 6. Corpse Fleet Opportunists. Absalom Station Refugees. That one actually had, yeah, this one had 6. Actually, these are pretty substantial adventure seeds. Chaos on Absalom Station. There we go. So we got the agitator there. Don't trust anybody. The aliens did it. The Greys did it. It's all Grey's fault. Trifold Response. Interlocking Circles. I'll just skip another one here. Yep. Blazing Speeds. The failure of drift travel has thrown the starship manufacturing industry into chaos. I could see that happening. While manufacturers scramble to do whatever they can to survive, finding a feasible alternative means of interstellar travel would put any company at a massive advantage. One business, willing to do whatever it takes to seize the opportunity, has made a deal with an evil power to get a leg up on its competition. This power comes with a cost, however, and it might be the whole system that pays the price. Swarm Salvation. Had to get the Swarm in here somehow. They are a big bad in the world of Starfinder. Tend to find a good number of the adventure paths have involved them as well. Russell Higgins is asking, can they be a pod person or a spore? Of course you can. If you'd like, you can be, a body snatcher. Spectre Corrupted. If the drift crash harmed mortals, it devastated the plane's native outsiders, Spectra. The incident injured, killed, or displaced many Spectra. Desperate survivors seek answers just as fiercely as mortals, if not more. When one becomes 3. So one aspect that I think is kind of interesting here is taking a look at these adventure seeds, and most of them do clock out to about 6 pages. Old school, that would be like, oh man, that's plenty. I got plenty. I have plenty to see. I mean, I could run this adventure no problem. Now, that's with an old school mentality, right? Now, a lot of people these days, they need to have those like 90-page adventure paths that come out every month. And they need all of, everything kind of like, I don't want to say spoon-fed, because I've used plenty of pre-published, or I should say published, not pre-published, published adventures, and tore them apart and rebuilt them and had a blast with my players and that. But it's kind of funny that I'm looking at these adventure paths and I'm like, oh man, yeah, I could easily put together a few sessions out of this. So there's some discussion of the Madman's famed Savage Worlds campaigns. And yes, he was doing East Texas University, and then they were doing the Rippers, or Rippers, I guess it's called. So Samantha says it came up as a TPK. Oh, wow. So they're going to start playing Pathfinder for Savage Worlds. Sweet. I should point out the Madman's Daughter is our newest role-playing game reviewer, and I am sending along a zombie role-playing game for Savage Worlds for her to review. And that is going to be on the horizon there. I figured, yeah, hey, I know her dad knows the ins and outs of Savage Worlds. So yes, there is some discussion of the events from earlier today. I talked about that in the open of the show. Kind of shared my thoughts about it a little bit. So yes, I am with many of you out there who are kind of mentioning that in chat. It is a heartbreaking, and yet another heartbreaking tragedy. It really is, and it's a weekly thing here in the United States, and in fact, it's a daily thing. It's just nowadays it's like, oh well, at least 10 people have to be shot before it makes the news, because 3 or 4 people being shot in an incident, it's just not newsworthy anymore because it happens constantly. And anyway, so Flaming Heron says, are you going to be playing that Zombie Savage World game soon, Madman? No, I'm going to instruct his daughter to not let him see it. All right, back to taking a peek through here. Broken beacons. Beginning with a drift crash, numerous drift beacons began flickering or even shutting off completely, further restricting drift travel and galactic communication. Resourceful troubleshooters embarked to uncover the mystery behind the broken beacons. But this isn't a straightforward mission of rescue and repair. Dun, dun, dun. Stabilization protocol. This book is actually quite a bit different than what I was assuming it was. I for one, I didn't think that there'd be all these adventure nuggets. I don't want to say hooks, because there's more to them than just the hooks. Even though I think that's how they were referring to them, as hooks. So here's the toolbox. Spoiler warning, this chapter exists primarily to help GMs run games that involve the drift crisis. Spoilers abound! Alrighty. 245 Taraxon says it's a shame 2nd edition Pathfinder and Starfinder isn't more popular. Well, I know 2nd edition Pathfinder is a bit more popular than Starfinder. Well, you know what? We'll talk about that in just a moment when I wrap up. Taking a look at this. All right, so we get some new creatures, so we get a bit of a bestiary here. The Aussie Worm Agent. I am the Protomander. The Tetracam. Oh, I guess this is huge. The Void Devil. All right, so let's see. Are these NPCs? I believe so. So we've got some important NPCs here. But no stat blocks. This is something we noticed taking a peek through last night, is there were some NPCs and then no stat blocks. And I don't need stat blocks to run NPCs. But I was kind of surprised. It's like, oh, these are important non-player characters, but we're not going to give you stat blocks for them. But that was a little weird. And it looks like that's something else here as well. Okay. Secret treasures. So here's some new gear. Oh, wait a second. Hang on. Adventure Paths and Crisis. So as I mentioned, I thought we would see some information here about adapting earlier adventure paths to the Drift Crisis. And that we can see is going on right here. Looks like all of them. Well, okay, up to Fly Free or Die. All right, then we get some advertising. And that is what we find in Starfinder Drift Crisis, which is arriving in stores tomorrow. Hardcover like this carries an MSRP of $44.99, or you'll be able to grab the PDF for $9.99. Sweet. I'll have a review of this in the near future. Either I or Sammy will have a review in the near future. All right, let's swing on over to the other camera. So some discussion as far as Pathfinder 2nd Edition and Starfinder being more popular. So there was a point when Pathfinder outsold D&D by quite a lot. And things started to get a little closer. And as far as my understanding, now, once again, I don't have, access to people's numbers or anything like that. But there isn't that huge a difference as far as D&D and Pathfinder 2nd Edition numbers. I know people are going to go, no, there's no way. When you take a look at what comes out for D&D, so when they come out with an adventure book every 6 months and it sells really well, just think of all the adventures that Paizo's been selling each and every month. So Paizo's not hurting, I can tell you that much. As far as it being more popular, it is a crunchier game system than 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. It's quite a bit crunchier. But on the flip side, it also provides you with far more character options than you find with 5th edition. So Starfinder, I think, is a unique beast because it's space fantasy. It's not straight out science fiction. It's not Traveler by any stretch of the imagination, or Stars Without Number, or any of the many science fiction role-playing games out that are established out there. And I think part of the reason why maybe Starfinder is not as popular as it could be is because people see, oh, there's goblins in space. Oh, and look at the little rat people in space with a little rat guy with a little bubble helmet on. That's cute. I think they think Starfinder is a lot lighter or fluffier than it really is. That's kind of the vibe I get as far as Starfinder. But then again, once again, this is just my vibe on it. I think Starfinder is a cool game. I think it's a cool system. Once again, it's a Paizo role-playing game, so you're going to have tons of character options for you. Once again, it is going to make things a bit crunchier. I say it all the time. If anybody's got any interest whatsoever in either Pathfinder or Starfinder, you can pick up one of the beginner boxes, which are extremely reasonably priced and jam-packed with gaming content. Check it out. See if it's for you. You don't have to go and buy, the various different core books to dip your toes in. Just pick up one of the beginner boxes or keep an eye peeled for the various different bundles of holding and normally humble bundles that will offer, just like we were talking about yesterday. There's a humble bundle going on right now. It's a smashing deal on Starfinder stuff. Flaming Heron says or asks, do the monsters need to be foaming at the mouth or have blood dripping from their bodies to be scary now? They have to be demonic. It's that Murkberg. Damn you, Murkberg. Although I got to admit, I've got Heretic that I'm going to be sharing with you next week. That Free League Publishing had sent along. In fact, if I remember right, I think there's a Game Master screen with it too. So we're going to be taking a look at that next week. So I don't know. Oh, I'll have my review of Death in Space very shortly as well. So I know a lot of people are kind of curious. So is it Murkberg in space? You'll find out. Russell points out Starfinder is good, but it's hard to find a motivation. So I keep bouncing around. Should I shoot a video with some advice for Paizo regarding Pathfinder and Starfinder adventures? I think that is a little bit of the problem as well. Even as weird as this is going to say, or sound, I should say, even 5th edition adventures are far less linear than Pathfinder and Starfinder. And there may not be a ton of player agency in 5e printed adventures, but there's more than there are in the Pathfinder and Starfinder adventures. And I think part of that is because they always have to be releasing an adventure path each and every month. And they have various different writers. Ron Lundeen is one that shows up on a lot of stuff. And they tend to have these irons in all these different fires. So these adventure paths never feel truly organic because you've got all these different authors. So honestly, what they should do is they should say, hey, you know what? So-and-so, you're going to work on this adventure path and we want it to be 3 chapters and get started on that. And it's their adventure path. And I think that's one of the reasons why we see a lot of stuff where it's like, oh, hey, it's a mystery. I need to figure this out. Well, all I need to do is roll and beat this challenge number. And hey, you're going to provide me with the answer. There's no, you got to figure it out yourselves, guys. It's like, here are the clues. Here are the handouts. And then, okay, the game master, if, the players aren't figuring it out, the game master can help, but it's not like, oh, well, I roll this die and all of the mystery is solved now. So Madman's pointing out they had never had a total party kill before. Oh, I have. Run enough Call of Cthulhu. You don't even have to run a lot of it. It's just, they come with the territory there. All right. Hey. So that is it for tonight's show. Tomorrow, it's going to be a War Game Wednesday. We are going to dive on into 1941's Barbarossa Army Group Center from GMT Games. Yes, it's a War Game Wednesday. And this has some serious heft to it. It's not a huge box. Kind of a standard, 3-inch GMT box, but it's kind of full. So Russell points out that's what makes old school D&D not basic good. They just give you a frame to play in. Yeah, exactly. That's why modern role players, when they first take a look at, like, say, an Advanced Dungeons and Dragons module, let's say G1, right? Studying of the Hill Giant Chief, or Chieftain. I think it's Chief. They can't make heads or tails out of it. They're like, what the hell's going on? What? Huh? For one, they freak out because it's like 16 pages. What is that, like the first session? No, it's the entire adventure. 16 pages. So, Jarl of the Hill Giants. No, that is not the title. Not AD&D. Steading of the Hill Giant Chief or Chieftain is G1. Now, later editions, second edition, that might be the title, but I thought they took all the G and D modules and they put them all together. Or was it just G and D? I don't know. I say it all the time. G1 was the first Dungeons and Dragons product that I purchased. Blue Maps. What is this? So it couldn't be Xerox, baby. Yeah, I remember that was the first purchase for D&D I had ever made. And I thought, oh, wow, this sounds really cool. And I'm trying to think. I think I had rolled up a character with one of my brother's friends for D&D. 245 Taraxon says, Studying of the Hill Giant Chief. Yeah, I think that is it. I couldn't remember if it was Chieftain or Chief. So, yes. Cool. All right. Hey, see, memory bank's still working. Somewhatly. All righty. See, this is the thing that I hate about sinus infections. And it starts ending up in my chest. Never fails. Oh, I should mention, I went to see my cardiologist yesterday. And everything's all good. And it was funny. I was talking to the nurse who was, taking my vitals and stuff. And I said, yeah, I've got a sinus infection. She said, everybody's got a sinus infection right now. I said, seriously? She goes, oh, yeah. She goes, half the people I talk to have sinus infections. I'm like, yeah, gotta love it. Got to love it. All right. So, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. Also inform you when I upload standalone videos. I couldn't get that out of my mouth earlier in the show. It'll let you know when I upload standalone videos, such as my first look at Country Road Z. Yeah, it is a skirmish level zombie miniatures game, and I will be taking a peek at this in the very near future. Stay tuned, everybody. All right. So if you were watching live, thank you very much. Even on such a terrible news day. Much appreciated. Like I said, doing the show makes me feel better. Hopefully it helps make other folks feel better out there. Not worse, just better. But if you were watching live, thank you very much. If you took part in chat, very much appreciated. Thank you for not making me feel like a dork just talking into a camera to nobody. But I know a lot of people out there, they don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if it's live or Memorex. It means a lot to me that you take time out to check out any of the videos here on the channel. Of course, I will be back tomorrow. And here's hoping each and every one of you always gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.
Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. Check out the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, or find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks for watching.